Every empire in history was built on land, gold, or power. But the empire that rules today is built on debt. It has no borders, no flag, no army. Yet it dictates the fate of nations and enslaves billions without them even realizing it. What if I told you that the world you live in, your home, your job, your savings, is part of a vast, invisible system designed not to create prosperity, but to keep you permanently indebted? Because hidden beneath the modern economy lies an empire built not on wealth, but on endless interest. To understand this invisible empire, we need to go back, not to Wall Street, not even to the Industrial Revolution, but to the birth of modern banking in Renaissance Europe. In the 14th century, powerful families like the Medici in Florence realized a secret. Money didn't have to be physical. It could be promised. By keeping ledgers of debts, they could lend out what they didn't actually have and collect real wealth in return. This was the beginning of fractional reserve banking, the idea that a banker could lend many times more money than the gold they held. It worked like magic. A few numbers on a piece of paper, and suddenly new money was born. But here's the twist. Every single unit of this new money came with interest. That means there was always more debt in existence than money to pay it back. From that moment, humanity stepped into a system where scarcity was guaranteed, and debt became the foundation of growth. Fast forward to the 17th century. The British Empire wasn't just conquering land, it was mastering finance. In 1694, the Bank of England was established to fund wars against France. But instead of using the king's gold, it issued debt-backed money. Government bonds sold to private investors. The government got instant cash. The bankers got permanent interest payments. And the people, they got stuck with the taxes to cover the debt. This was the first major alliance between state and finance, a deal that would quietly spread across the entire world. Nations no longer needed to conquer territory to gain power. They could simply create debt, and the debt would conquer for them. By the time of the Industrial Revolution, this invisible empire had matured. Banks financed railroads, factories, and cities, but each loan created more dependence on credit. The more the world grew, the deeper it sank into debt. And behind every industrial triumph was a quiet, unbreakable chain: interest. Then came the 20th century, and with it, the illusion began to crack. After World War II, global powers met at Bretton Woods in 1944. They created a new system where the US dollar would be the anchor and all other currencies would be tied to it. The dollar, in turn, would be backed by gold. But there was a problem. America started printing way more dollars than it had gold to back them up. By the 1960s, countries like France began demanding real gold for their dollars, and the vaults in Fort Knox started emptying out fast. So, in 1971, President Richard Nixon made a historic announcement. The U.S. would no longer convert dollars to gold. In that single moment, money stopped being real. The world entered a brand new era, one where every currency was backed not by gold, but by government promises and ever-growing debt. This was the ultimate power shift. Money became credit, and credit became control. Every dollar in existence was now someone else's liability. The hidden empire was finally complete. The decades that followed looked like prosperity, but it was prosperity built on borrowing. Governments issued more bonds, banks created more credit, and consumers took on more loans to buy homes, cars, and lifestyles they couldn't truly afford. Debt was no longer just a tool, it became a product. Entire markets, student loans, credit cards, mortgages, were designed specifically to extract interest indefinitely. By the 2000s, debt had become the lifeblood of the global economy. And when the system tried to correct itself in 2008, the empire didn't fall, it was rescued. Central banks created trillions of dollars out of thin air to bail out the very same system that caused the collapse. The message was loud and clear. Debt was too powerful to fail. Today, we are witnessing the same story repeat itself, only bigger, faster, and hidden behind technology. Governments owe a combined $313 trillion in global debt, a number so enormous it can never be repaid. And yet, the solution offered is always the same: print more money, create more credit, borrow more. Meanwhile, central banks are now openly discussing digital currencies, programmable money that can track, expire, or even restrict your spending. The same empire that once printed on paper now wants to control every single transaction digitally. Inflation quietly steals your purchasing power every day, while your savings accounts earn less than the inflation rate. A slow-motion wealth transfer from you to the system itself. The hidden empire still thrives, not through armies or invasions, but through compound interest and the illusion of freedom. Look closely at history, and you'll see the same cycle repeating every few generations. Money is created from debt. Debt expands faster than real wealth. A crisis exposes the imbalance, and then the authorities fix it with even more debt. Each round makes the empire stronger and the people weaker, until the next collapse resets the game. But what if this time, the collapse doesn't reset the game? What if the empire evolves instead into something digital, centralized, and permanent? So, what can we learn from this hidden empire of invisible debt? First takeaway: debt is not just an economic tool, it's a system of control. The moment you borrow, you are surrendering your future labor for present comfort. Second takeaway: money is no longer a store of value. It is just a claim on someone else's debt. True wealth lies in assets that exist outside the debt system: your knowledge, your skills, your community, and real goods. And third takeaway: the next evolution of this empire won't be paper. It will be code. Digital currencies, social credit systems, and programmable money could turn this invisible empire into an unbreakable one. The question isn't when the system will change, but how much freedom we'll still have when it does. If this story opened your eyes, share it, discuss it, and question everything. Because awareness is the first step toward independence. This is the empire they never taught you about in school, and it's time we finally see it for what it is. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more explorations into the untold history of money.